Back in the Auto Watch tonight, new data from Cox Automotive shows nearly 300,000 electric vehicles were sold across America. Get this, Amir, in the second quarter of this year. It's actually a record for any quarter and nearly 50% higher than this time last year. So EV sales made up about 7% of all sales in the second quarter.
Well, Cox reported that in a survey, more than half of consumers believe that EVs are the future and will replace those gas-powered cars. I mean, I kind of think the same.
Yeah.
But less than a third of U.S. dealers agree. According to that survey, almost half of dealers said that EVs still need to prove themselves.
So helping us dissect all of those numbers and to give us a bit of insight on how EV car sales may be in the future, here is Paul Eisenstein, publisher and editor-in-chief of the DetroitBureau.com. So Paul, thank you for joining us tonight. So let's just kind of start with your overall reaction to the survey. Does it actually even surprise you that consumers are more gung-ho about electric cars than, say, the dealers?
I would be more concerned if I was an automaker if we saw dealers more excited about selling EVs than consumers were about buying them. Dealers have an amazing way of reading industry trends, consumer trends in particular, and responding to it. So if 50% of Americans want EVs, they're going to find a way to get excited about it. One of the reasons they're not, they have to spend money. You may recall a bunch of Cadillac dealers were bought out because they didn't want to put the money in to set up charging and all the other things that they had to do to get into the EV market. A lot of those guys are going to go away, and gals. We're going to see that the dealers who are more excited about it are going to do better, and they're going to spend the money to make sure that they can sell EVs and service them. So a shorter answer to this is that doesn't surprise me at all. Dealers will come around.
Now, Paul, earlier this year in January, I was actually in the market to buy a new car and went to the dealership intending to buy an EV.
Really?
The dealer talked me out of it. So do you think that's going to prevent EVs from growing if things like that are happening?
For the short term, yes. I've seen that. Now, I was lucky. I own an EV, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it along with my wife before we went into the market. I felt comfortable by the time I did with where the industry is going. It's not wrong for dealers to talk some people out of it. You really, at this moment, need to know if an EV is right for you. If you do extremely long trips, it may not be. But if you're generally driving 40, 50, 60 miles commuting or just running errands, it probably is good for you. And I think a lot of dealers will do the right thing, making sure that customers know what is the right vehicle, whether an EV is right for them or not. If this dealer talked you out of it because they didn't want to sell it, maybe they weren't getting enough of a profit margin, then shame on them.
You know, my question is, so dealerships, do they even currently have the infrastructure needed for the electric vehicles? Are there even enough charging ports out there, Paul?
Well, that's two separate questions. Let's talk about the infrastructure at dealers. It can cost them money. They have to put in many cases, high-speed chargers in the dealership itself. Ford and a number of manufacturers are telling dealers that they also have to have chargers available for their buyers. So you'd be able to go back to the dealership and plug in if you want to. So this can cost money. But then again, anytime there's a new technology or a new vehicle, dealers have to spend. As for the infrastructure, I will say that charger anxiety is becoming more of an issue than range anxiety. As you may have been told, I'm in England right now. I was at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and I spent quite a bit of time with Darren Palmer, the head of the EV program at Ford, and he brought this subject up. And that's one of the reasons why you see Ford, GM, and a number of other manufacturers partnering with Tesla so that they can roughly double the number of fast chargers that are going to be available to consumers around the country. You'll see more and more chargers coming in. You'll see EVs fitting the lifestyle of more and more consumers over the next couple of years.
Paul, the big three have made commitments to having more electric vehicles. What do you think they are going to have to do to get those dealers on board to sell them?
Well, in some cases, they may have to buy them out, as Cadillac did, and a couple other automakers have basically incentivized buyers who don't want to get into the new market to get them out of the market, get them out of their dealership entirely, and find a dealer who will do a better job. they may have to incentivize some of the dealers in their costs. If you're in an area of the country where there aren't a lot of EVs being sold right now, some of those costs could be very high. And you'll see manufacturers subsidize, excuse me, offer some help to dealers who really can't afford to spend the money, but who would be willing to sell EVs if the demand is there.
All right, Paul Eisenstein, publisher and editor-in-chief of the DetroitBureau.com. We'd like to thank you for joining us here at CBS News Detroit.
All the way from London.
Good to be with you.
Yeah.